The boroughs are New York City. The burbs are everywhere else. Real estate is the ultimate game of risk and reward. It's the biggest investment most people ever make. Fortunes are made over a lifetime and lost in a day. And we're not playing with monopoly money. How do you stay ahead? Who's buying? Who's selling? And why? What do they know? We want the truth. You need an edge. Boroughs and Burbs is your secret weapon, giving you the insider knowledge and strategies you need to succeed in the high-stakes world of real estate. From Palm Beach to Palm Springs, Manhattan to Malibu, we press the experts to expose the pain, find the deals, and occasionally predict the future. That's Boroughs and Burbs, Thursdays, 3 o'clock Eastern, noon Pacific. Because everyone can make money in real estate.
Because everyone can make money in real estate. Welcome, everybody. Boroughs and Burbs 204, Season 5. Today, we're in Charleston, South Carolina. And I'm here with my co-host, Roberto Cabrera. Where are you?
I am on the Upper West Side of Manhattan, and I can't tell you how excited I am about this because there's always been in my mind like the myth of Charleston. And everybody's always, oh, Charleston. And they kind of take ownership of Charleston. It's like, let's find out what it's about.
Amen. All right, so I'm going to go through a few screens. Today, we're going to go through all these neighborhoods of Charleston. I want to thank our sponsor, Grace Farms Teas and Coffee, and you can find them at sharegracefarms.com. You can find boroughsandburbs.com. You'll find this episode in about an hour up on our website, and you'll find the video at YouTube. That's my partner, and he's got a new market report. Roberto, tell us about the market report.
Well, it's a buffet. It literally is. It's either you getting caviar or corned beef hash, but it's good for everybody. And there's something. This is a market that it's about what you make of it because it's there. There's a lot going on. That's all. You just have to read it.
Caviar and corned beef, quite a range of offerings in New York these days.
Yeah, sure. I should have put or.
This is me. If you type in John Engel and Elman, you'll find all these different places that you'll find me. And there's my Google My Business listing. I don't know why it says that I'm 3 hours and 20 minutes from me, but there you go. Alester Spears. He is our special guest today. Carolina One Real Estate. You'll find him at AlesterSpears.com. And this is Carolina One Real Estate, and we're going to be exploring his website shortly. Our other guest is Larry James, director of Charleston Magazine. Very excited to have Charleston Magazine in the house today. And without further ado, welcome, gentlemen.
Oh, thank you for having us.
It's a pleasure to speak with you guys.
As Roberto says, everybody has a Charleston story. Mine is I went to Davidson College in North Carolina, and I was on the sailing team. We weren't very good, but there was an opportunity to go to Charleston for a regatta to go race against the mighty College of Charleston and the Citadel. And those are serious racers, top 10 in the country. So what does a guy like me do? He goes to the fraternity party on a Friday night. He tries to find the prettiest girl who weighs less than 100 pounds and says, "Would you like to go sailing tomorrow?" "Why, yes." "Would you like to go to Charleston tomorrow?" And it's going to be a raging good time. And of course, yes. Well, what happens is you go down there in the team bus and they put you up in the Citadel barracks. And unbeknownst to me, it's not like sailing on a lake. You have a serious deep water harbor with some of the best racers in the world. And it blows 20 knots, 30 knots. And all the boats are tipping over and people are in the water everywhere. It was a kind of a disaster. Not exactly what I had in mind.
That's right. You better hang on in our harbor down here.
Yeah. It's a serious sailing and boating community, and it is a serious deep water harbor. So talk to us, gentlemen. Well, first of all, let's back up. Introduce yourselves. Give me the elevator pitch. Tell me what is Charleston Magazine and what is Carolina One.
I'll let Alester begin, okay?
Sure. So, Alester Spears. I'm with Carolina One Real Estate. I am born and raised in South Carolina. Had a home here for many decades. We have a family house at Edisto Beach, and I reside currently on James Island, which is just over the connector bridge from downtown Charleston. I was spent 30 years in corporate America. The last 12 in my corporate life, I had my own healthcare IT consulting company. Worked with a variety of different folks and different businesses, helping them scale their business and with marketing initiatives and things like that. And around 2020, I decided that I was going to make a change, take my 18-year hobby into a full-time career, move back home to my home state, and basically dive into real estate. So it has been a wonderful journey. I leveraged my real estate experience from where I used to live prior to here, which was Atlanta, Georgia for 20 years. And also leveraged owning houses in New York City, which was a co-op, so very familiar with your neck of the woods, as well as Atlanta and Nashville. So here I am in Charleston selling real estate, loving every minute of it and opening the door to people to really explore the low country lifestyle.
And you met Roberto back in college at Hampton, Sydney, once upon a time.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Mhm.
And so that's the connection. All right.
Yeah.
Well,
Lots of stories, but they have to stay in the vault.
There
So
are
I
stories.
especially love having Larry and Charleston Magazine because I always want to get a non-realtor perspective on the show if possible. So
Well-
Charleston, you've got a broader view of the market coming from a magazine. So tell us about Charleston Magazine and your background.
Well, thank you, and very well said, Alistair. I'm with Charleston Magazine, and I've been there 20 years. This was sort of my second really professional gig. I started off with Spoleto Festival USA, which is a fine arts festival that happens every May here in Charleston. Huge talent from international waters come to see us. That's really where I sank my teeth into professional life. I quickly, after that career ended, pivoted into Charleston Magazine and have been there, like I said, 20 years. We are the lifestyle magazine. We've just celebrated our 50th anniversary with a huge party last week at one of our iconic venues, which was formerly a cigar factory in downtown Charleston. But we cover everything from the food, the culinary scene, the history, the new and notables. We have an extensive dining guide. We highlight influential people in our community. And that's just sort of brazing the surface. We're a monthly publication. We've been awarded many times due to our beautiful editorial and art content, which is an easy thing for me to be able to pitch that I'm on the more marketing side. Specifically, I run something called Charleston Magazine Club, which is a social group of which Alester is a part of. Luckily, we have events and ticket opportunities and get-togethers at least once a month. We actually have one this evening, a big casino soiree. So a busy day for Alester and myself, but it's a fun job. We have a good time bringing people together, elevating our town, and just sharing the voices that makes Charleston so unique.
Can I ask you guys to
Yeah.
tell me a little bit about, for example, so I've known Alester for 40 years, and back then, and I was an outsider to South Carolina and everything else. So to me, Charleston was a small, sleepy, not sleepy for people that are there. I'm sure that's insulting. I don't mean it's sleepy, but it's just like quaint. It seemed to me, but it seems to have evolved into something that's become very international. It's like, it's not Nashville, it's not Hilton Head, it's not New Orleans, but what is it? And how has it evolved from the late 80s, early 90s through till now? And how is it managing itself? How is it, because I'm assuming a lot of people have migrated there. And how are you handling that?
Do you want me to start?
Yeah, I'd like for you to start. Sure.
Okay. Thanks, Larry. Okay, so that was a loaded question, Roberto, because there's a lot in there.
You guys are so polite, by the way. John's like, Roberto, stop. Let
We're
me talk.
known for our politeness here in the Holy City.
So Charleston has changed dramatically. as you can imagine. So to your point, Roberto, it really was a sleepy secret, if you will. It's interesting because the past of Charleston is pretty dynamic. It was the wealthiest city in the country at one point. It was primarily agriculture, and with people having city homes. We were the first in a lot of things historically. We had the first opera house. We had the first manicured gardens. So we had a lot of first. We were settled in 1670. So, throughout that history, we've had rises and falls. And I would say, compared to 40 years ago, we were sort of just existing. There was not a lot of industry here. Tourism was one of the strongest things with Charleston. We had the historic district, which is traditionally the French Quarter or south of Broad, which people, generationally have flocked to admire the homes and the architecture and the Charleston gardens and the opulent living that once existed at the time. So, I would say several decades ago, primarily, I would say, our educational institutions had a lot to do with bringing new folks in. They were traveling down, their children were going to school at the Citadel or College of Charleston. They realized what an amazing city it was, steeped in history. And more and more people started to come. We've always had the beach communities, which have been a strong draw for people. We have Isle of Palms, Sullivan's Island, Folly Beach, Kiowa, Seabrook, Edisto, and they all have a different personality. So as, things started to take root, golf, for instance, became such a big ordeal as time went on. Kiowa became, had a PGA tour. So it really became a huge place that people started to flock to. And then, the golfing industry brought in people wanting to purchase homes. Meanwhile, at the same time, these historic mansions that were downtown, some of them needed a lot of TLC, and people saw that and so started to really invest in the downtown scene. And then really, as time went on, people just woke up. The food scene is pretty spectacular. We have a unique type of ingredients that we use in restaurants here. We get a lot from the sea, we get a lot from the land. It's a lot of farm to table. And when I mean it's grown locally, you could go 20 minutes out of town and things are grown right there. And they're brought into town, and we started to get some award-winning chefs. The last thing I'll touch on really is I call Charleston a mini New York City. It's a peninsula, but it's also a livable, walkable city, which is quite rare in the South. You can easily live downtown in a condo or townhome or a regular house and walk to the grocery store, walk to the many restaurants. And I think one of the reasons why, Larry's Charleston Magazine and the Charleston Magazine Club has been so huge is that it pulls people from the exterior communities, the beaches and things like that, pulls them into town and really unites everybody.
I agree. Yes.
And so I don't know if you want to highlight anything.
Well, we don't have much of a sell sometimes with Charleston because it's impossible to take a bad photograph here, really. The architecture, like Alester spoke to, really isn't unique to anywhere in the world. We have 17th century homes here. We have places that are historic, but they're not frozen in time. They're livable. When you walk through the historic districts in downtown Charleston, you'll see people with families, with careers in their homes, really living day to day and not just preserving, but making better, modernizing, but not destroying where we came from, which is very important. And preservation is a huge part of what Charleston is and will continue to be for a very long time, I'm sure.
I'm still trying to label it. Is it a town, historic town that got bigger, or is it a city? When you talk about, so let me ask you for a definition. When you talk about Charleston, how big is Charleston? Is Charleston 100,000 people, or are you talking about the downtown? Or are you talking about Charleston and surrounding area?
So do you want to?
I would say surrounding area, sure.
Yeah. So the Charleston metro area is around 869,000 people. And that includes everything that you're showing right now on the map. That it goes all the way up north of Mount Pleasant, all the way up to Somerville, which is north of North Charleston, all the way down to Johns Island and the beaches. Yeah, so all of that you're showing is roughly 869,000 people. What's interesting, and I meant to bring this up, John, earlier when you mentioned Charleston Harbor, our harbor is one of the deepest harbors on the whole East Coast. So not only are we a city wrapped around tourism, vacations, beaches, things like that, but we have an entire, what we call the I-26 corridor, which we have Boeing manufacturing, we have Volvo manufacturing. So we have so many different, so much industry that's coming into Charleston. Mercedes-Benz. We have a new battery manufacturing company. So it's really built up.
So 26 is this highway heading off to the northwest?
Exactly.
And you have an international airport?
We do. We have several international flights. We have
Wow.
Bermuda. We're getting one to the Caribbean. We have Toronto. And where else?
We used to have London. We just lost that recently.
It is coming back.
But I think it's coming back, yes. So
Supposed
very easy to travel here.
And when you said you're in James Island, that's here just south of the French Quarter, right?
Correct. I'm a little further north where you're circling. So if you go up to the right a little bit, yes, that's close enough.
And so how far are you, how far a drive is that for you to get down to the French Quarter?
To get it is 6 minutes.
Wow. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, 6 minutes. So James Island's a very unique place because really you're at the most 15 minutes to downtown, and 15 minutes to Folly Beach. So, which is down where it says Google Maps on your map. So if you live on James Island, within 15 minutes of wherever you are, you could be either downtown or on Folly Beach, which is quite astonishing fact, if you will, because it really provides unusual living experience where you can be dressed up going to a nice James Beard chef at one of our great restaurants, or you can be relaxed in a Jimmy Buffett bar out on Folly Beach.
I think that's why a lot of us are having a trouble pinning it down, because for many of us in the greater New York area, we think of South Carolina as a place that you can retire to. And if you're thinking about someplace with nice weather and lots of golf and beautiful beaches where I can slow down, I can perhaps cash out of my expensive New York area real estate, and I can settle down in South Carolina. But as you say, with great restaurants, accessible to everything, with a great airport. So is it a retiree place? And yet you've just described the I-26 corridor, which makes it, oh, this isn't just for retirees only. Maybe that was an 80s and 90s concept, but with all these Volvo and other factories moving in, it's also a city for young people and careers.
I would say so, John. With tech companies starting up and moving to downtown. Also, we have a lot of artist influx who's bringing young, new, fresh, vibrant energy into Charleston, creating a nice grit and new form of art, not just stuck on what we're used to, but more contemporary views, and lots of festivals, things to do, not just what you may perceive as Charleston, which is kind of stuck in the 80s and 90s. So I would say yes, for young people who've lived here, who've experienced it, and who want to stay.
Can you give me kind of an around the shoulder just like guide of just going around the city? What is the flavor of where you are now as you go a little bit further, I guess, north or west? What is it? What's it like near the Battery? Like, give me some flavor of what's what there. Like, I could tell you the Upper West Side is this, the Upper East Side. Give me a little bit just so I can kind of orient myself.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and to piggyback one quick thing on what Larry said, by the way, Charleston's #1 in job growth. We're also number one in short-term job growth. Is that we're in the top 10 for the growth for young adults moving here and starting their careers. We're number 4 in the country for GDP growth. We're listed as number 7 for Boomtown. So, John, to your earlier point, we're just not a retiree city. We truly are. I mean, we have a lot of opportunity in a lot of different areas. And then to your point, Roberto, the way we're laid out back to the map, the if you look at Isle of Palms, which is to the northeast, over by Wild Dunes, this is one of our suburbs. This is really is anchored by Wild Dunes. It's a lovely beach community. They have marinas. They have top-notch restaurants. They have fun college bars like the Windjammer. It's really it's right on the ICW, which is the Intercoastal Waterway, which, if for those boaters who go from north to south, they go right by there. Going south from there is
How far does it take you to get there from where you are? Just curious, if you had to go there.
I would say no traffic, 30 to 40 minutes. With traffic, 45.
Okay, that's accurate.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes it doable, Roberto. You have to plan if you want to spend an extended amount of time and, for dinner in Charleston.
Sure.
But now Isle of Palms has so many great offerings that, you could make it a vacation, or a lot of people live on Isle of Palms and do the commute.
Mm-hmm.
Sullivan's Island, to me, is sort of like the Hamptons, if you want to compare it to something.
I think that's a great comparison.
In New York, lovely, large homes, expansive beaches, great restaurants as well. I will say that it's not gated and private like Wild Dunes would be, or Kiowa Island, but it definitely offers some exclusivity because of the price point. And it's also one of the closest beaches to downtown Charleston. So
what is that price point? What can I expect on Sullivan's Island?
I would say 5 million plus. It depends. So here's another interesting thing about Charleston. We're not as homogeneous in our neighborhoods as a lot of other areas in the country. For instance, you go to the Upper East Side of New York and everything, is condo buildings. And if you're along Fifth Avenue, then you've got brownstones and condo buildings. But everything looks pretty, everything's nice and pretty much the same. And in the Charleston area, and Larry, I don't know if you agree with this or not, but you can have a multi-million-dollar house on deep water, and then across the street you have a $500,000 home, or $250,000 home that hasn't been developed yet or remodeled or something of that nature.
Not unusual at all.
Yeah. So it's really,
and you're saying that's possible on these beach communities, beach suburbs of downtown Charleston, still possible to get in for a few $100,000.
No.
Okay.
That's just, that was just in general. Sullivan's Island, no, you have to be in the $1 million range.
Okay.
Yeah.
So those young professionals working for Volvo, they're not going to the beach communities where empty nesters have perhaps cashed out of, and are retiring to. They're buying along the I-26 corridor.
It depends. If they are working in, one of the Boeing, or they're working at Volvo or any of those areas, those jobs are closer to Somerville. So more than likely, for more affordable housing, they're living up in Goose Creek, Nexton, Somerville, and those areas that are further north on the I-26 corridor on your map that you're showing right now. If you are
north of what I'm showing, that north of the airport?
Correct. Keep going.
Okay.
Yeah. So
there's Goose Creek and there's Somerville. Got it.
Yes.
And this is still considered Charleston, more or less.
It
up
is.
In here?
Is Charleston Metro. Correct.
Okay.
Okay.
So that's all included in the 869,000 population that I shared with y'all earlier.
This is starting to make sense to me. And you know what? It's most like the Palm Beach show, where everybody knows about the Palm Beach Island, but we talked about West Palm Beach, and we talked about the growth, how they're doubling every 5 years in population, and a lot of that is jobs and tech and finance related. So what I'm hearing the same thing, that
Right.
there's a beach community and there is a cadre of retirees, but there's also a very exciting growth happening in the Somerville Goose Creek area that's making a more balanced, shall we say, economy and real estate market.
I think balance is the key word. We are very much we're almost sheltered, if you will, because we do have the industry that when the tourism drops or something like that, we have the industry that can keep us elevated. And then when the industry drops, we really have the tourism either from the beaches or from the historic district to really elevate us in that manner. So we really kind of feel like we're a nice protected metro area, which is, a lot different from a lot of our other counterparts in the country.
Mhm.
So you said a lot of young people have come. So
Right.
I'm assuming they're also putting down roots. They're staying there. They're having families, et cetera. What is the school situation? Are there schools, private schools, public schools that are able to manage the population?
Yeah. Yeah, great question.
Certainly are.
We have a ton of different private schools. We have secular ones, religious affiliated private schools, and then we have
School of the Arts.
School of the Arts. We have magnet schools. We have great, depending on, great public schools all throughout the area. So, from an education standpoint, I mean, we're pretty covered. Then we also have, MUSC, which is, medical school, College of Charleston, Citadel, Trident Tech. So we have kind of the gamut of those types of institutions, as well. And I will say one of the anchors to downtown is MUSC.
And the
college because it brings in a lot of doctors and oftentimes people whose kids come to school in Charleston, they love it so much they end up buying a condo in Charleston. So it's
That's what happened. That's what happens in New York too.
yeah, so it's crazy. It's
Love
crazy.
helping those kids because the parents come around the corner like, we'd like to buy a $4 million place.
And then the kids go to school here, then they don't leave. So it's kind of a full circle.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah,
like
Larry.
myself. Like myself. I'm originally from South Carolina, but attended the College of Charleston and graduated and just haven't left, like most people I know.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that balance question. We talked about the balance between young professionals and retirees, beach communities, and yet factory, middle management jobs. Talk to me about balancing, preserving the historic charm and accommodating modern development. I know that's an issue everywhere. Affordable, is affordable housing, zoning laws, how do we manage this growth so that it doesn't get away from us?
Well, I think that's a question of authenticity. We want to maintain that authenticity. We don't want to lose where we came from. We want to observe and cherish that. We know that's what made us Charleston in everyone's mind. But then we want to expand on that. We want to keep evolving. And that's where you really get your modern touches and you can really start to elaborate and find the neighborhoods that suit your lifestyle best, whether it's a quirky pocket like Park Circle, which sort of has an artistic vibe about it, or it's a beach community that's a little bit less key than maybe a Sullivan's Island or Isle of Palms, which would be more like Edisto Beach or Folly Beach. It's just finding your pocket of people, your comfort zone, and your affordability. But there's a whole gamut of that to choose from, which makes it really nice here because you're going to fit in pretty much anywhere you want to land in some way.
See, this is fascinating to me because when we talk Palm Beach, they never use the word authenticity. They don't talk about history at all for the hour. And even when I think of the two cities closest to you on the coast, at Myrtle Beach, they don't talk about they don't talk about preserving the character, the historic charm at Myrtle Beach. And at Savannah, they don't talk about being industrious. They're happy to be a community, they're marketing themselves as a community for retirees. And yet you're saying we can be everything. We can be all of these things with our airport, we're a much more dynamic and diverse community and economy.
Yeah, I would. Yeah.
And, for many, many, many years, we were voted #1 city in the world. Until I think just recently Santa Fe knocked us out.
Yeah, we're #2 now.
#2. And so we're sort of used to having that banner title and used to these accolades, and appreciate you pointing that out, John. It's nice to hear and be reaffirmed there.
And it is interesting, even some of the neighborhoods that aren't, 1700, 1800s. For instance, we have a neighborhood called West Ashley, which is up and coming. It's one of these emerging neighborhoods. A lot of, younger people have been moving there. And it's really post World War II was when it came about. So it kind of comes, during the mid-century modern period. And a lot of people, particularly right now, really embracing that period. So areas like that, and also Park Circle that Larry brought up earlier, are really, keeping their character for what they were at the time and just expanding on that. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a, 1800s mansion downtown. It could be a cute little bungalow in West Ashley that was post-war, that somebody has turned into a great cottage because it's, one level, and sometimes retirees choose those instead of choosing beach properties. So
with that in mind, considering the architecture, I mean, there's such history there, and the architecture takes on a certain personality. Are there zoning restrictions of like, you have to build this type of structure here, like in the Battery downtown or in downtown? Does it have to conform to something? And this new neighborhood that you're talking about, you were there embracing mid-century modern. Are they building mid-century modern, or are they, in that style, or are they doing other things?
So basically, it depends on where you are, Roberto. I mean, if you're down south abroad, then, really you have to adhere to, things that were more in the time period. You can do things, internally to your house, but at the end of the day, you still have to go through the permitting process. And, the idea is to maintain the character of these communities because they are the crown jewel of Charleston, specifically south of Broad on your map. Yes, that neighborhood south of there towards the point.
That's tiny. That's a tiny spot though, right?
It is. But if you go up from there, Charleston Village is really booming. Radcliffe Borough, booming. Cannonboro, Elliotsboro. These have sort of traditional Charleston single homes that people are going into, gutting them, making them livable, making them a little bit more modern to our living standards of today. And as more and more people move here, that line is going further and further north, up past the Citadel to Wagner Terrace, up past Hampton Park Terrace, which is listed right there. That the whole area. That east central area is a hot spot for over to the right. Whoops.
That's a pretty house. How much for a house like that? If I say that's what I have in mind, that's what I want. That's in Wagner Terrace.
Okay. It depends on, everything. So that's a broad question, John. A lot depends on water, view, depth of the water, the streets close by, accessibility. So there's a lot of factors in how much does that cute house right there, which is a dynamite looking house. If I was throwing something out there, if it was in Wagner Terrace, I would shoot for $1 million.
All right.
So can I ask you something, Alester? Let's just say, look, I love New York. I love the urban feel of it. I'm going to move from New York, and I'd love to come down there, but I still want to kind of maintain that urban feeling where I can have the walkability of the city, walk around. I really enjoy that. I'd love to have 3 bedrooms, something. What can I buy? Like, give me an example of, and what would I need to spend? $2 million on 3 bedrooms? Way more than that?
So that's a loaded question too, Bob. It depends on it depends on where you want to be. So we are very neighborhood specific. So if you wanted a 3-bedroom home, say on Trad Street, which is south of Broad, you're probably starting at 2 million and going up. If you know, needed to be a little bit more budget conscious, if you went to Charleston Village, you could probably start at 1.5 millions going up. Now, if you wanted a condo or a townhome, your price point is going to drop from there, because you can get amazing lofts or old carriage houses that have been converted, or in some cases they've taken houses built in the 1800s and split them up into 3 different condos. There's a condo on every floor. So our pricing varies.
So a townhome there, like here, townhouses are 5,000 square feet to 12,000 square feet, whatever. What would I expect the square footage to be of a townhouse there? Something like 2,500?
Yeah, I think that's fair. Yeah, or 2,000 to 2,500, I would think.
So a beautiful townhouse
for a 3-bedroom. Yeah.
Let's just say there's a 3,000 square foot beautiful townhouse somewhere near that southern part that you're talking about, which is seems like the place to be. Is that a $4 or $5 million budget?
South of Broad?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say your minimum would be 3 million, upwards of there. Yeah, depending on the shape it's in and the location. Yeah.
And are there any? When I was there, we were for an evening. Very inebriated evening in college. It was
at least you
cold.
remember being there, right?
Yeah, I do. It was very cold and windy, so it makes me think of. And some people have talked about that area down there in the Battery had flooded at one point. And I'm just curious how protected. How do you manage the weather, the hurricanes, the things like that? I mean, has it had a big impact? And how's insurance for you guys? I know Florida, it's difficult.
Yeah. So basically, insurance costs throughout the country are going up. We are the low country. I mean, they call us the low country because we're pretty low.
We're at sea level, thus low country.
Just low country.
Yes.
So, for the most part, if you live in Charleston or the surrounding areas, you're going to be in a flood zone. So most people have flood insurance. It is on the rise, but we really just accept that as part of life down here, because the positive benefits of the weather, the beauty in the trees and the Spanish moss, and
the southern hospitality,
accessibility to the water, the beaches,
the boating. Yeah,
I mean it kind of overcompensates for that. But there are streets that are known to flood at various points, and you just have to be conscious of that, basically.
And it can be very exciting when that hurricane is spinning off our coast, like we just experienced about a couple of weeks ago.
Right.
Luckily, it had a hard turn. So,
yeah, you all had the nor'easter that we had.
Yes, we did.
Yeah,
but it was mild for us.
So I got to ask the economics question here. So sitting up here, a couple of Yankees in the New York area, we were told that there's not enough housing in America for the last several years. And so in the Sun Belt, they've been building it as fast as they can. They're building as fast as they can in Florida, Austin, the Carolinas. And we're hearing that there's a bit of a hangover going on right now, that some of these communities are experiencing a softening of their real estate markets because of the building boom. So I gotta ask, I get it. I go down there and I fall in love with it, and maybe my kid is down there for school, and that's how I discover it. And I say, okay, you know what? I'm going to move down here, and I'm going to. So, what are my prospects for real estate? Are we in a currently soft market? Are you experiencing some of the same hangover that they're experiencing in Austin? And do I have opportunities with you if I move down there to perhaps invest in real estate and continue to develop?
That's a real estate question.
I
He's
know,
real estate
That's a real
expert.
estate
I feel like
question.
I'm talking a lot.
No, you're doing a great job.
So we are in an inventory shortage, and we have been for 6 years, I would say. So right now we have about 5,300 units for sale in all of Metro Charleston. So what you displayed on the map, in that whole area, we only have 5,300 units for sale. In order to be
A city of 900,000 people, 5,000 units.
correct,
How many are in New York, Manhattan right now, Roberto? About 5 or 7,000?
Inventory?
Yeah.
6,500, 6,400, something like that.
in Manhattan?
Yeah. For eight
Wow.
for 8 million people, whatever.
Well,
So
they're not all in
here's-
Manhattan, but
So
it feels like it.
so we should have 7,500 units in order to be in a balanced market.
Okay.
So we have been in a deficit for years. The up that I-26 corridor that we talked about earlier, where a lot of the industry goes, is probably the biggest boom in our new home sales. And new home sales in the Charleston metro area are about 37% of the market. I would also say Johns Island, which is, yes, down to the left, right there. This has historically been an agriculture horse farm type of island. It has been massively developed in the past 20 years, where they've taken a lot of those old farms and turned them into new neighborhoods. So there's a lot of new home development there as well. So, at the end of the day, it takes about, on average, I would say houses are on the market for about 3.2 months before they sell. That's a little bit longer than it was 3 years ago, but we get 40 new residents a day moving to Charleston. So we are, and people are moving here for lower taxes, the weather, the beaches, the
Where are
life.
they coming from?
A great question, Bob. A lot of them are coming from the Northeast. So we're getting a lot from New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Rhode Island, those areas. We're getting a lot from California.
There goes the
A lot from
neighborhood.
Florida. We're getting a lot from Florida.
There goes the neighborhood, exactly.
What'd you say, John?
I said, there goes the neighborhood. All those Yankees moving in.
No,
Now,
no.
did a lot
What
of this
about-
happen after COVID, do you think, or during COVID?
Yeah, I think COVID has played a role.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
But I will say, the entry level to getting to whenever you come to Charleston, one of the biggest assets of our community is Larry's Charleston Magazine Club. Because, there's a lot of fear moving to a new community. You don't know people, you may, I don't know, root for, Green Bay Packers, and people in the South are all college sports. So, you don't have a familiarity with somebody that you normally wherever you're coming from. So, Larry's Charleston Magazine Club has brought together a lot of people so that they can start meeting people and experience the city. And just the number of festivals, maybe talk about the festivals that are here.
Right. So we used to have a season that began Valentine's Day weekend, and there was something to do every single week. And now it is year round with things to do in Charleston. It really never stops. That is from oyster festivals to arts festivals to music shows to sporting events to a degree. And what we do at Charleston Magazine Club, I'm very lucky. I have a very nice, fun job as we curate these events for these folks who are all sort of similar in what they're looking for. They're looking for connectivity, for community, to be out and about and to experience sort of the best that this city can offer. And that's one of my roles, is really putting these folks together, giving them something to do. And from that, friendships are made, inevitability, there is business that happens from that. That's not what the focus is, but more, I hear friends from Charleston Magazine Club are seeing each other outside of the club events, which makes me very happy. And so we've cultivated a very nice community just from this group of folks. And I'm
So
very
what are some of the clubs? Give me some examples. I saw some old cars, for example, in some of those photos, like car shows and stuff. What kind of club? Because you also mentioned the Spoleto Festival of the Arts, which is famous,
yes.
decades old. So what are some of the clubs that around which people revolve?
Some of the clubs, well, my club is probably the most dynamic of them all. But then there are other smaller groups that meet independently. There are writers clubs, there are cigar clubs, there are reading clubs, so on and so forth.
All within the Charleston Magazine Club?
Oh,
Or
no. Independent of what we do.
okay.
We're mainly events, ticket opportunities, parties, art openings, brunches, different workshops like floral workshops, bouquet making, those types of events, interactive. Tonight, like I mentioned earlier, we have a casino soiree. So it's literally a party with fake money that goes to winning hopefully great prizes. Later on in the season,
John, we can make that. We can make that.
They have
that's
an
6:30.
airport.
I'm in good timing, Roberto. That's in good timing. Later on in the season, we have Steeplechase of Charleston, which is a huge horsing event, and we'll have a private tent there with catering and bar and
Does that happen on John's Island?
that is on John's Island, correct? Stono
Cool.
Ferry is the name of the raceway down there, and that is one of our signature events. We do that every single year. We have a holiday party every single year. We have a Friendsgiving every single year. A lot of these things are tied to charitable components. So it's a food can drive for Friendsgiving. It's a Toys for Tots for holiday party. It's a therapeutic writing nonprofit for the Steeplechase. All of these are sort of tied in and aligned with our magazine, things that we support, that we are sponsors with, that really align with our branding and what people, we think, and I think it's proven, enjoy.
I want to get back to the economics.
Yeah, man.
Have I missed out? And meaning all the best lots, all the best. I mean, it sounds like there's not enough housing. You've got 40 people moving in every day. If I fly down there today and I start looking at houses with you this weekend, there's not enough inventory and prices are rising. Yes?
I would say I'd say that's the case. Prices are generally ticking up. We're not seeing the quite at the same levels we did maybe 2 or 3 years ago, but prices are generally increasing. There's
How
John,
much?
always
What kind of
room.
percentage, year over year percentage? We still talking 5% or
Yeah,
double
I would
digits?
say 4%, 4 to 5% year
Okay.
over year. But it's not like it was 3 years ago where it was
And
10%.
if I find a really cute house that's done, no work, like the picture I just showed you, and I'm like, wow, there's 20 people who would be able to just drop their bags and move right in, cute little house in a cute little neighborhood. Am I going to find myself one of 10 bidders on that house if it's priced fairly?
If it's priced fairly, or if it's underpriced, you may have that situation. If it's priced fairly, I think that
If it's priced fairly
I
in
mean,
Connecticut,
Alester, essentially, you have a market that if you list something and you feel that you can sell it, it's just a matter you got to price it right.
you have to price it right, but it may take some time, even if it's and there could be a price correction on it if you've been over ambitious with your pricing.
Sure.
Which happens, particularly because people are under the illusion that it's going to, it has accelerated or increased like it did 3 years ago.
Do you see a lot of cash buyers? Do you see a lot of second home buyers?
So yes, so I would say the majority of buyers have, quite frankly, been baby boomers, and a lot of them have been cash buyers. I would say 70% have been cash buyers. And yes, people are buying, not only are they buying second homes, Roberto, but they're also buying third and fourth homes. So it's not uncommon to drive around, Kiowa, and you can point out the houses that maybe is third and fourth homes, and they're not cheap homes.
Are any of those
in some
people using
cases.
those as investment properties, Airbnbs, things like that?
So a lot of people have been doing the Airbnb. A lot of the local jurisdictions have been putting some parameters around that now. However, when you look at Isle of Palms, Sullivan's, Folly, Edisto, Seabrook, Kiowa, there's still a weekly rental programs that people can put their units on and rent them seasonally, weekly. So that's still allowed. In some cases, Folly's clamped down a little bit. They have a moratorium on permits for seasonal rentals. But in most of the beach communities, a lot of people, that's how they afford their homes. They buy them,
Yeah,
they
sure.
pay a little bit more than they wanted to, and they offset it, the taxes and the upkeep on it by renting them out weekly during the summer months.
What about international buyers?
International buyers are flocking here as well.
From London?
From everywhere. From everywhere.
Everywhere.
Yeah. It's really because we are an international city, and you saw that with the airport. We're very unique. In some cases we've had stores that were just in Charleston and in London. Ben Silver used to have a store in Charleston and in London, which is kind of an odd thing. But because of the uniqueness of the city, I mean, really, I often say Charleston's sort of a cleaned up New Orleans, and it's a cosmopolitan Savannah. It's also a mini New York. And so it really has something that no other city in the country really has.
Does that jive with you, Larry, what he's saying?
Say that again.
Larry, does that jive with you, what he's saying?
It does. And I wanted to add that we're also getting a Four Seasons that's underway. So the downtown area is very excited about that. There's a possibility of a Soho House still coming. We have the Spoleto Festival that brings in a lot of internationals for 17 days during May. That leads back to the international question you posed. So I do agree with what Alester says, that we have that international flavor, the walkability, the architecture, the food. Very important here is the food, the sustainable seafood, the shrimp, the shrimping. All of those factors lead to very well-balanced, nice way of living.
Several chefs have actually started out in Charleston that are James Beard winners. Mike Lotta, Rodney Scott, Sean Brock. They all had restaurants here that won awards. And now, Charleston Place, which has sort of been one of our premier downtown hotels, has a resident chef from New York. I can't remember what.
11 Madison is the name of the restaurant.
Yeah. So
Oh yeah.
if you're familiar with that one, so
Yeah, it's an amazing place.
Amazing. Yeah.
he has a guest residency in Charleston Place.
We're hoping it'll just remain.
Yeah. We're gonna steal him from y'all, just so you know.
Southern hospitality,
So this is the point where I've got to ask you guys in the final moments to sort of look at the crystal ball and give me some predictions. What I hear you saying is that you didn't see the rocket growth of an Austin or a Palm Beach. It's been more steady, and therefore we're not experiencing the same hangover. It's a more balanced market than some of those other Sunbelt communities that we've featured on the show. More balanced economy, more balanced real estate market, still growing, but in the single digits. What do you see for the next 10 years? Do you see that this is going to become more of a young professional community, and that we have some room to go in that regard? Or are we going to start to see that some of the people priced out of the Florida Palm Beach, Boca market are starting to look at this as their second, third, fourth home in Kiowa and Johns Island?
Well, I'll start, I guess, maybe. From my perspective, I think we're going to listen to our locals. We're going to be led by those voices. We're going to be who we are. We're not going to be influenced too much by the outside climate to the degree that we can't be. And we're going to listen to where we want to go. I think we've made our history, our present, and then our future is going to be led on those footsteps.
With 11 Madison and the Four Seasons coming to town, I don't know that it's necessarily under your control. The Yankees are coming. They're bringing their checkbooks and they're building the hotels and the restaurants. The people will come. That's what I hear you saying.
Yes, that's correct.
Hey, listen, we welcome, but I'll have to say that Charleston has always welcomed new ideas. I mean, you know, at the end of the day, I mean, we are steeped in history to a certain extent, but we're very much open to anybody. I mean, we're a very, you know, open community. We're you know, we try to exhibit that with the art, with the culture, with the, you know, literature, with the restaurants. But at the same time, you know, we're also a laid back community. You know, oftentimes, you know, I'm, you know, in a bathing suit, you know, the whole day and forgetting to take a shower before I go to dinner because the outdoor life is so dramatic. And, you know,
Today he's cleaned up.
That happens to me too.
Not to me.
But, you know, I'll just have to say, I think we're going to continue down this path. I think we're going to continue down this path.
He's very skippy today.
John and his propeller and his bathing suit.
Well, I think you guys are the guys to ask. I mean, you got, if anybody knows, it's you two. I mean, with the ear to the ground, with Charleston Magazine and the Charleston Magazine Club. I mean, who better to keep their finger on the pulse? So I want to thank you guys again. I want to thank our sponsor, ShareGraceFarms.com. You'll find this episode up in the next hour at BoroughsandBurbs.com. Episode 204, Charleston, South Carolina. Thank you, Roberto. It's a buffet in Manhattan. Make sure you go to RobertoCabrera.com and you can read up on his newest newsletter. It dropped yesterday. JohnEngel.com or TheEngelTeam.com to find me. And I want to thank Carolina One Real Estate. We've got Alester Spears of Carolina One. That's him. Larry, oh, that's not him. That's Larry James, Charleston Magazine. And this is the, let's see, I think, yep, there it is. The City Magazine since 1975.
That's great.
Thank you guys.
Gentlemen, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you all so much.
I learned a lot. I think I understand your niche, both physically between Palm Beach and Savannah and New York better than I did. And I've gotten some of my old ideas that were maybe born of the 80s out. It sounds like a whole new, very dynamic city of 900,000 people that I should come down and visit.
And bring your bow ties.
Yeah,
I will.
Everyone's
Sounds like I'd be welcome.
Yeah, come on down.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you
Larry.
so much,
Thanks,
guys.
Alice.
Really appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Roberto. Bye-bye.
Yes, sir. Skipper.
Thanks, John. Thanks, Roberto.